panel members, പ്രിയപ്പെട്ടവരെ, പ്രസന്റ് ചെയ്യുന്ന പേപ്പർ റീഡിംഗ് ആൻഡ് ലിബറേഷൻ എ ജെൻഡർ പെർസ്പെക്റ്റീവ് ഒരു തിയററ്റിക്കൽ പേപ്പറാണ്. അതുകൊണ്ട് ഈ പേപ്പർ പ്രസന്റേഷൻ അത്രമാത്രം ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റിംഗ് ആയിരിക്കില്ല, ബിക്കോസ് ഇറ്റ്സ് ഫുൾ ഓഫ് references and so on. So I am trying to make it more interesting with some PPTs and so on. So first of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the organizers of this meeting, Indian Library Congress. So when we are talking about reading and liberation, you know that Indian philosophy, it is giving more importance to liberation. So how can we attain liberation through reading? So you know, liberation or moksha or whatever concept in Indian philosophy, it is possible only through reading, because reading will enlighten us. All kind of enlightenment in the world will happen through reading. So how it is affecting gender, especially you can see the gender is also a very sensitive term now, because gender is not specific to one or two gender. Now there are various aspects, but in my presentation I am focusing women. How it is liberating women? Is there any possibility to liberate themselves through reading? So from Plato's time onwards, from the historical time onwards, we can see there is a assumption that the intellectual realm, it is the possession of men, because you can see that in our system also, if something related to intellectual ability, we will tell, okay, men are eligible or more accurate for that particular position. That is happening from, it is not a recent thing, it is happening from the time immemorial. So from Plato's writing itself, there is some evidences that how he is telling that women are a little inferior than men in intellectual thing. So you can see that is not a new thing. So, and history, when we are talking about history, you can see that history is his story, not her story. She do not have any place in history. Why? When we are talking about history, we are talking about all the rulers, all the wars, all competition, conflicts and so on. Where is the role of women there? That is why it is his story, not her story. There are several reasons for the disappearance of women in history. One reason is that history is always talking about war and conflict, and it is the realm of man. Usually women are not creating wars, right? Because they are not that much of hungry towards power. So you can see, nowadays I am not telling there will be differences, but at the same time you can see that history is history because of this kind of wars and conflict happened in history. So when we are coming to another thing, that there are women in history, that you can see in Indian history itself, you can see Noor Jahan, so many women leaders are there, so many women are represented. But how they were represented? Either they were royal families, they were from royal families, or they were lovers of the royal people. So that is why they were in history. There are some exceptions like Rani Lakshmi Bai and so on. Then also you can see they are from the royal family. They are in the bracket of royal families. Otherwise, poor women, suppressed women, marginalized women, they are not in the history. So when we are talking about Indian history, you can see that now we are here and there is no gender differences here. It is very happy to see such an audience without having any kind of gender difference. So it was not the case earlier. When we are talking about Indian history, you can see it is starting from the Vedic period. Many historians are telling that during the Vedic period, women enjoyed considerably better position. For example, there are Gargi, Maitreyi, all such kind of women represented in the Vedic ages who were very good, who enjoyed a lot of power. But some historians are telling it is not exactly true. When we are talking about Vedic ages, women were they were allowed to do sacrifices and so on behalf of their husbands, not as their own. So it is a debatable thing whether women enjoyed considerably better position in Vedic period or not. Then previous the second slide. Okay, when we are talking about the later Vedic period, you can see that later Vedic period only Rig Veda was there, and later Vedic period all other Vedas originated and the Brahminical domination started, and that was the beginning of suppression of women. Lot of rules and regulations started and they were suppressing the voices of women. So likewise you can see later Vedic period, the decline of the women's status was there, and Mahajanapada period, that is Buddhism and Jainism period, and there also women were given some kind of position. For example, in Buddhism you can see women nuns were there. In sannyasa, that women were sannyasis were there very less. But in Buddhism you can see Buddha also asked women to come forward and to be part of that nun. That is why Buddhist monastery was there for women also. So in that way they were also enjoying little bit of consideration during the Buddha period. Then you can see the Muslim invasion started from that time, that 1200 onwards, the Muslim invasion was there. And during the Muslim invasion, some kind of changes happened in Indian women's status. For example, Indian women were not allowed to get property earlier. But Muslim invasion, it gave some kind of consideration to property rights. And widow remarriage, you know the Sati system, right? How Raja Ram Mohan Roy was fighting against Sati. Raja Ram Mohan Roy, when he was a child, his brother's wife, he was very fond of his brother's wife. She was very young and they used to play together. And one day when he came from outside, he saw that his brother died, because at that time that children know that health system was, the medical system was not that proper. So sometimes the children will die at the age of 12 or 13, and child marriage was there. So these children married at the young age. This brother married at the young age, and he died. So suddenly this Raja Ram Mohan Roy entered into his house and he saw this sister was decorated like a bride, and he was asking what is the reason. He understood that this girl will be taken as Sati. Okay, she will be thrown to the funeral pyre of her husband. Actually, Raja Ram Mohan Roy couldn't suffer that. How can somebody throw the girl into the funeral pyre of her husband? And that was the system of the status of women at that time. And Raja Ram Mohan Roy decided at that day, but whatever happened, he resisted, but his sister-in-law was buried, so she was burned alive. So that was the point that Raja Ram Mohan Roy decided, I will fight until the end of my life to remove Sati. And in 1829 you can see, with the legal help, with the help of William Bentinck and so on, they demolished that complete demolition, or that what to say, the Sati system was it was banned in India. So that was the condition, that was the pathetic condition of Indian women at that time. So when we are talking about British colonization and so on, there is a belief that Britishers gave lot of consideration to women and education. It is not true. Until 1854, there was, you can see that there was a statistics done, there was a study done by the British government, how many schools are there in Bengal in 1854. At that time they understood 2,875 schools were there for men and only 65 schools are there for women. So it was not their concern to give education to Indian women, because their concern was to give education to men, because men should be part of military. Okay, they have to handle administrative things, so they want men to be educated. Not the concern was not on women. But there are some social reformers which started with Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Then